Is Hyper-G Soft noticeably different than regular Hyper-G? I've gone through an entire reel of both and even made a video comparing them. And my conclusion was that it's a tad bit softer, but I'd be splitting hairs. It's not meaningfully different, at least to a casual amateur player like myself. So let me show you a green string that is actually soft and with better feel, but yet it still delivers on everything that Hyper-G Soft delivers on. This is YTEX's Octo Twist. I will tell you all about this string in detail in just a bit, but first, some context. Skip to this time if you just want to get to the review. I didn't doubt my playtest comparing Hyper-G Soft to regular Hyper-G, but man did I question my sanity when I wasn't able to tell a meaningful difference. But then I saw my friend Kent's video pitting Hyper-G Soft versus Tour-Bite Soft, and this is what he had to say.
And I noticed something interesting. Neither string was as soft as I thought it would be. They were definitely both softer than their original counterparts, but not as soft as the difference between something like Voco's Cyclone and Cyclone Tour.
My own conclusion was that I would rather just string regular Hyper-G at a slightly lower tension. And what bugs me is that why is Hyper-G Soft not much softer? I mean, it's one of the most popular strings on the market, and I see that fluorescent green color on every other string bed, which means plenty of us casual players are buying it. And aren't we the ones that need the softer, easier on the arm poly? I don't know, but my guess is that Solinco knows they have a popular and winning formula on their hand and they'd rather not mess with it too much. That is understandable. But after playing with Octo Twist, I'm convinced that this is what Hyper-G Soft should have been. That was a thought that went through my head after just my first session with Octo Twist. And I really hope that this isn't bias stemming from its green color, but honestly, I played with Hyper-G Soft just before I hit with Octo Twist, and revisiting Hyper-G Soft in this super flexy thin beam Prince 03-100 was a pretty underwhelming experience. And yes, I have reviewed this racket and the link to that is down in the description below. The amount of spin and consistency I see with this string is just ridiculous. All my shots have this nice arc on them and they drop just before the baseline. If my balls ever say long or drop shot, I knew the root cause. It was my own swing. I would adjust on the next shot and boom, back to dropping balls just before the baseline. That is also what Hyper-G Soft provides with its sharp four sides and low power response. It's why I bought an entire reel of it. It's because I saw my balls dropping just inside the baseline with incredible amounts of spin over and over again. Because Octo Twist is 8-sided and twisted, it basically acts like a round string, but its construction somehow still manages to give you Hyper-G Soft levels of spin. And because it acts like a round string, its launch angle is lower and more consistent. And this is why its spin is also more consistent. I've never really gelled with sharp strings because I feel that the launch angle off them is artificially higher, and the trajectory of the ball doesn't seem to track my swing's intent as I might expect it to. But with Octo Twist's lower launch angle, I feel I have a lot more control over the trajectory of the ball without sacrificing any of the spin I've come to love from sharp four-sided strings like Hyper-G Soft. I also feel like I have extremely precise control over the amount of spin in my shots. And this is a super underrated trait because it's noticeably easier to play flatter with this string than it is with Hyper-G Soft. We talk about the importance of spin in the modern game, but we rarely talk about just how important the all-court style of play has become. I could argue that Alcaraz is a better Federer, not a better Nadal. So I think that strings that allow you to play every single possible kind of shot well, to go between different styles of hitting and to put as much or as little spin on your balls as you require for your shots are the ones that are going to win long term, because not only is it very empowering to play such kind of tennis, it's also necessary. I don't know about you, but it's really rare for me to come across a string that makes me feel empowered on a tennis court. You know that scene in the first Avengers movie where Captain America is asking Bruce Banner to get angry because they have a giant alien worm thingy headed straight for them? Do you remember what his reply was and what happens after?
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Hold on.
That's how the string made me feel on court. This is a spin monster, but its monstrosity is under control and ready to be unleashed at your asking. The spin does decrease over time as the string becomes less slippery due to use, but it's very gradual, and I was able to identify the point at which the performance had decreased too much for me, which was around 8 hours. That's also the point I started to notice that the strings were sticking out of place just a bit. I know what you thought when I mentioned Octo Twist's slower launch angle, that you have to swing out to get depth, right? Well, no, because this is where Octo Twist's softer response comes in. You get really decent power because of that softness, and it makes up for the lower launch angle to give you easy depth. But I cannot emphasize enough that this is controlled power. That Bruce Banner Hulk analogy applies here too. The power is all there, but only when you ask for it. At the same time, the response here is crispier and livelier than Hyper-G Soft. It's not a crispy or lively string per se, but comparatively Hyper-G Soft feels dampened, whereas Octo Twist gives me enough to be satisfied. This string's response feels similar to a hybrid of YTEX's Pro Tour Blue crossed with Restring Sync. I've reviewed both these strings on my channel, and I talk about this hybrid of Pro Tour Blue and Sync in the Pro Tour Blue review, so go check them out. But in summary, Octo Twist's response is very middle of the road, not too dampened, not too crispy, and I feel that most people are going to find it just right. The softer response here will also give you good comfort. Be mindful that only you know how sensitive your arm is, so what's comfortable for me might be uncomfortable for you. But I feel that unless you find you can only really play with multis, you're going to find Octo Twist to be plenty comfortable. I say this because I love soft and crispy setups, and I string low, like 35 pounds low, because that's how I find I get the trait I look for the most from my setups, which is ball pocketing. I generally cannot play above 40 pounds because things start feeling very boardy to me very quickly at that point. So use this to judge your purchase decision if this video inspires you to try Octo Twist out. The last thing I'll mention is tension maintenance. I found it to be essentially the same as Hyper-G, although Octo Twist does start to decline sooner, even though that decline is really gradual. As a reference, I lost about 8% of my tension after each session. Personally, I cut my strings out every 6 to 8 hours anyway, and Octo Twist would be no different. So yeah, that's Octo Twist for you. A controlled spin monster that is decently soft and powerful, and very good at enabling the modern all-court style of play. If you identify with Federer's style of tennis, then this is a must-try. Okay, see you in the next one.